Hello!
Hello.
We're back for another trip down rom-com lane. Of course, this is When Rom Met Com, the podcast where we break down what makes a date movie a great movie. We're currently working our way through Vanity Fair's list of the 42 best romantic comedies of all time to see if they had us at hello or were a big mistake. Huge. I'm Jack.
I'm Nora.
And this week, we are joined by our guest, Karen K. Ho, a journalist at the intersection between business and culture. Karen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You are essentially the forefront of Crazy Rich Asians reporting, as you literally wrote the cover story for Time on Crazy Rich Asians.
It was an experience that changed my life, I'm pretty sure.
I can imagine. The closest I've ever got to a cover story is I was once briefly mentioned on the front page of my university's newspaper about a prank I'd pulled.
I have read a lot of magazines, and I think that's the closest I've come. How did it change your life?
My mother replicated that scene from Joy Luck Club where she holds the copy that she had personally ordered from a relative at the time living in Hong Kong and being like, my daughter did this. Like, my daughter's name is on the front of this. And when I still talk about it now, people either remember it very distinctly or they know intuitively what it looks like because the image of that cover was so distinctive that John M. Chu used it in a compilation video. And then I think he sent a framed copy of the image to Constance Wu for Christmas that year.
Oh my gosh.
It is a striking image.
I want to say, it is such a great article and such an interesting look because it's just before the movie came out. It's such an interesting film in terms of, where it sits within culture and to be able to say that you were at the forefront of that, almost prognosticating it all. It's incredible. And I'd love to know, were you following the movie as it was going along or was this assigned to you or, yeah, I'm just curious.
So the backstory is actually really funny. I was in a group chat with a bunch of other folks and I said, I just saw BD Wong in this very small theater and it's great. I really recommend you go try and see it. And then someone from that group chat who is an editor at GQ was like, hey, he's doing press for one of the Jurassic World movies. Would you like to interview him? But it does require you to watch the Jurassic World movie.
I worked on publicity for this Jurassic World movie.
And then the executive editor for culture at Time apparently read that profile and then emailed me. She cold emailed me.
Wow.
And then I thought it was a prank. And then so she emailed me to my other email address the next day. And it was like, I just wanted to make sure you saw my first email. I really like to chat with you. And so I got over my shock and replied. I told them my economics-based pitch for why I knew that the movie very intuitively was going to be a big blockbuster success, which was something that they had not struck them yet, right? Everybody knew it would be culturally important, but not financially successful. And then I was like, let's be clear, John M. Chu has already made $1 billion. This is not a man that has nepo babied his way into this job. He has a track record of very technical films involving dancing and, hardcore fan cultures.
Mm-hmm.
I was not surprised by anything that happened with Wicked or even for his other movies like In the Heights, because I saw what he was able to do with Crazy Rich Asians. When you're analyzing finance and economics, right? If I was doing a case analysis instead of Costco or a new startup, I was just doing it for this movie. And again, the movie made it really easy for me because there's that great scene about poker and about the face that you give to the other players and what you actually hold in your hand. And I was like, nobody understands what these people are holding in their hand. They have engineered this movie to be successful and they were just waiting for everybody to catch up. And then on top of that, there was the fact that I was the only woman of Asian descent that Constance Wu was interviewed by. So I had the inside perspective. She told me this during our interview.
Mad.
Yeah, that's wild.
she was like, finally, an Asian American woman. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm from Toronto. And she was like Asian North American is fine. For a long time in my career, I have been made to feel that my identity or my lived experience is biased. And in this very particular movie, I could articulate why it was a very large area of expertise. Like, I've met and had people doubt my skills and abilities for a very long time. And sometimes now in my head, I'm like, have you written a time cover? No. And then I just get to move on.
It's wonderful in a way. It sort of mirrors Rachel's experience in this film. Were you saying that people, doubted her abilities and doubted your abilities? And of course, Michelle Yeoh has the incredible line of, you will never be good enough. So, and, you've got to show people that you are. And I think you've more than done it.
My favorite part of the article is the very, very last point. Constance says, when you can be mediocre and still not feel like you have to prove something, that's when you know you've hit success. And that really resonated with me. And I thought that was such an amazing point, because I've read all these articles and interviews with the cast, and they've all said there is so much pressure on us because if this movie flops, Hollywood will never make another film with an all Asian American and Asian cast. It is entirely up to us, like the future of our representation in media. And oh my God, what an amazing, awful weight for a rom-com to hold, for anything to hold. And of course they did it, they absolutely smashed it. But what a privilege mediocrity is.
Similarly, I remember when 50 Shades of Grey came out.
Oh, where's this going to go?
Well, because at the time it was released, I believe it was the highest opening weekend for a film directed by a woman.
Wow.
My friend was complaining about that, saying it's sad that it's not a great film directed by a woman. And I was like, well, not always. The great movies are the ones that make the money. The fact that a woman was able to take this story and make that money, it's still positive movement in, the world of film, because now, it's 50 Shades of Grey is up there with the Transformers of the world. Not perfect movies, but things that are definitely appealing to people.
And if it flopped, they'd never get to make another movie about BDSM ever again.
What's wild is the next two 50 Shades of movies were directed by men.
Wild.
Also, nobody has brought this up about Michael Bay films or...
That's what I always think.
That's such a good point.
People aren't asking this of Adam Sandler either to make critically acclaimed. There isn't this kind of scrutiny for Happy Madison 2 in the same kind of way.
You're speaking my language. You have no idea.
I think John M. Chu is an incredibly successful Asian male director who, again, had gone through all the dismissal already for directing Step Up and the Justin Bieber documentary. He was well prepared to articulate and defend the frivolous nature of romantic comedies. But again, the legacy of Four Weddings and a Funeral and Notting Hill and those movies people will watch dozens of times over their lives. And they may not have won BAFTAs or Academy Awards, but I think they can have even greater monumental impact than the ones that do.
I agree.
Though I will say wildly, Four Weddings and a Funeral was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars.
That's crazy.
That is a little crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite rom-com?
It used to be You've Got Mail.
Used to be.
It's very complicated because it's dated now. And then also the irony of now people are frustrated when a Barnes & Noble closes because that was the only bookstore in the neighborhood. But I also think there is so much more awareness of catfishing and internet stalking and also the media industry. I can't imagine a columnist like that not being laid off in the last 6 months.
Well, if that used to be your favorite rom-com, what is your new favorite?
I think it's Fire Island.
Yeah.
Fire Island is so funny.
Fire Island's great.
Fire Island is great. So Fire Island tops Crazy Rich Asians for you?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that.
I mean, Crazy Rich Asians, that's family to you.
Yeah, and also you can watch Crazy Rich Asians on a plane and not have to worry what the person sitting next to you is going to think about it.
Saying this, I watched Fire Island with my dad when we covered it for this podcast.
Or I was even thinking of Call Me by Your Name. Like, I would not watch Call Me by Your Name on a plane unless I was in one of those like business class seats where you're like ensconced from everyone else.
Yeah, I wouldn't be watching it unless I was on Nick Young's private suite to Singapore.
I love that Crazy Rich Asians is now repeatedly in several articles talked about like if people cannot find it on a flight, they get frustrated and upset and complain. Like, that's how beloved it is. And I love Ronnie Cheng's joke about Crazy Rich Asians that Singapore Air blew the best sponsorship that they could have ever had.
Oh my God. When I read that they turned it down, that's crazy.
So, yes, we're talking about Crazy Rich Asians, which, if you haven't guessed, is directed by John M. Chu, stars Constance Wu, Henry Golding, Gemma Chan, Lisa Liu, Awkwafina, and Michelle Yeoh. It was released on the 15th of August, 2018, and was made on a budget of $30 million, which, when you look at it, you're never like, that's $30 million, because it looks so much more expensive. It then earned at the domestic box office $174.8 million for a worldwide total of $239 million, and sits on Rotten Tomatoes with a score of 91%. IMDb very succinctly describes it as, this contemporary romantic comedy based on a global bestseller follows a native New Yorker, Rachel Chu, to Singapore to meet her boyfriend's family.
Oh, yes, it does. That is accurate.
That is the plot of this movie.
So Vanity Fair gives us slightly more information. They say, when Crazy Rich Asians opened to blockbuster numbers in the summer of 2018, the world was ready for a different kind of romantic comedy. It had been decades since 1993's The Joy Luck Club, the last major American studio release to feature a predominantly Asian and Asian American cast, and the rom-com genre was experiencing a dry spell. Then along came John M. Chu's sparkling adaptation of Kevin Kwan's best-selling novel, centered on the love story between Rachel, Constance Wu, and Nick, Henry Golding, and how their romance is tested by the latter's exorbitantly wealthy, slightly unhinged family. Every frame bursts with opulence, from Michelle Yeoh's steely performance as Nick's elegant mother Eleanor, or one of the most lavish wedding scenes ever committed to film. Sequels are reportedly in the works, and they couldn't come soon enough, says Savannah Walsh from Vanity Fair.
Nora, had you seen this one before?
Yes, I remember watching it sort of randomly several years ago, maybe a couple years after it came out. And I didn't know it was a rom-com going in. I just remembered hearing that it was really good and really funny. And I went, cool, I like those things. And then I watched it again a couple months ago when we started the podcast, and I was kind of going through the list. And I've watched it twice this week. And honestly, maybe I'll watch it again tonight.
I mean, that is the effect it has. I saw this with a large group of friends at the cinema. We were all really excited to go. And just before going, I had read all 3 books. I really prepared for this movie. Who would guess that a few years later I'd host a rom-com podcast? You know?
couldn't guess.
Like, this movie was like the big event movie of the summer for me. I was really excited. And you know what? Initially when I saw it, I think I was a little let down. And I think it's because I had just read all those books. And when you get that book mindset into your head and then you watch the film and you're like, oh, well, that didn't match what I wanted. But rewatching it for this podcast, this movie is far better than I remembered it being. This movie is spectacular. And honestly, it should be higher up our list.
It should be so much higher on the list.
Yeah. It's really disconcerting that it's not actually.
So it's number 31 out of 42 on Vanity Fair's list of the 42 best rom-coms of all time.
Yeah, I would put this higher.
Yeah, I would put it significantly higher.
From the first scene, it has this amazing tension, right, of like mistaken identity, that moment that I call the how do you like them apples moment from Good Will Hunting, right? Like, which is very important for setting the tension about misconceptions or assumptions. And then, like you said, like it's a comedy inherently. Like, I love when I need a pick-me-up, I'll watch the makeover scene again, like just for fun of them trying on the different clothes and the funny commentary. Like, I would have loved, I'm sure there's a deleted scene of all the different lines that they tried and all the rejected outfits and stuff. And then there's also the fact that like the wedding scene alone is so memorable on its own. Like, I'm sure it inspired so many other luxury weddings in terms of like the grandeur or the staging. And then on top of that, there is something about that the movie lingers on things like the food and then the culture of the places.
Mm-hmm.
And John M. Chu does something that I think is also very unusual in that he gives a lot of breathing room to such a large ensemble cast. Yeah, there's Ronnie's character and Jimmy O Yang's character. Even the specific thing that Constance Wu's character talks about with Princess Intan in the church. Like, another director could have just been like, we're going to gloss over this. And she's like, no, I'm going to talk about micro-lending for women.
Yes, it's so specific.
It's so granular. The thing that I go back to is that Crazy Rich Asians is a movie that people can get obsessed with and that rewards rewatching.
Yeah.
When I was even writing the article, I was like, oh, I could see this particular detail being picked up by like a watch vlog. Like, they knew exactly what kind of Rolex Daytona to get. They were like, we need to be Devil Wears Prada level obsessed with the fashion because we're going to get asked about this. Like, this will be an article in Vogue. I think that's part of the reason why people still love watching it now, and why people have still messaged me and they're like, do you think the sequels will ever come out? People are prepared to go back to the theaters.
Yeah.
And it articulated something that we're really seeing in full force now, is that there was a large audience for a movie that would have an opening scene in another language, and a very specific language, which is Cantonese, right? But it's not the main Chinese language that a lot of people know, which is Mandarin. Of course, like, you see kids in small towns learning Korean to understand their favorite K-pop songs and K-dramas. But like in 2018, this was a radical thing that like the opening scene of a Hollywood movie would be Cantonese and become a blockbuster.
I love that opening scene. And what I really love is that we've kind of got almost two cold opens for this film. So we've got the opening scene of Michelle Yeoh going into this fancy London hotel and experiencing this discrimination from the receptionist, only for the reveal to be made that she has just purchased the hotel, which is the most incredible like mic drop. And that really sets up Eleanor's character, because she could do pretty much anything after that, and we would not see her as unsympathetic. We would not see her as a pure villain. Like, we have seen her as a whole human in that moment. And then in the next scene, we've got Rachel's cold open, the poker game that you were discussing earlier. She's demonstrating a game theory concept to her class. It's two scenes which set up our two main characters. Their conflict is the main conflict of the film. And it shows each of them being just a complete badass in their own unique way. These are two formidable, incredible women who are each bringing something very unique to the table. And I just love that.
One of the things that I really love about Michelle Yeoh's performance in this is that we are introduced to Constance Wu as Rachel Chu. And like, there is no way, like, as an audience member, you don't immediately fall in love with her. She's so delightful, so wonderful. And yet, Michelle Yeoh can play that she hates Rachel Chu. And we don't hate her for it. We have already got to the point, like, we will die for this girl. We will do anything for her. And yet, we have Michelle Yeoh being, as you say, not quite a villain, but within that realm. And it's so believable.
And then we haven't even gotten to like Gemma Chan's character.
No. And we will. But one thing I wanted to mention, because we're talking about what makes the film work.
Yeah.
And you were talking about John M. Chu's work later on in Wicked and stuff like that. And what I think is really incredible watching it now is how much this film plays like it could be a fantasy, you know? The way it's shot. It's all real locations, but it plays as if it's a world that we've never seen before. And I think that's so interesting as a filmmaking technique. Like, everything about it doesn't feel like quite of our daily life, and yet it is. And I think you can see that in what he did with Wicked later on. It's real grand filmmaking. And as you say, on that budget of 30 million, such attention to detail, because we've talked about Nancy Meyer's movies, and Nancy has this great attention to detail as well, and everything has to be very specific and it has to be correct. But she's doing it on about budgets of 80 million. I'm shocked by that 30 million budget. This looks like $100 million on screen.
It does, yeah.
That wedding scene alone looks like it could just cost 30 million.
Well, yeah, don't they say, isn't the fictional budget of the wedding in the film 40 million?
That's got one of my biggest laughs when she says, we're Methodists, we don't go above 20 million. I actually like saying that, though. I do want to say, one of the few things that holds this back from being an all-out classic for me. And it's very small, but I do find some of the comedy falls a little flat. Like a joke that really made me roll my eyes was saying that the actress had appeared in a porn called Two Girls, One Noodle Cup. I was just like, okay.
But remember, there were two co-writers. So I
Yeah.
always wonder in those lines if Adele Lim had protested and was overruled, because she was the lower paid person. She probably knew something like that was in poor taste. But again, she ended up leaving the project because she tried to negotiate. She was the one with the life experience about like being an actual Asian person. And it was the white male co-writer who got the bigger check.
Yeah. I thought about it a lot watching it this time, because especially now I'm watching it knowing she had like quit doing the sequels because of that treatment. And I was sort of thinking like, okay, there are moments that feel more like hacky white guy writing. Like the entire like Ken Jeong pretending to have an accent moment really doesn't play nicely for me.
I do agree.
It also feels like Ken Jeong's in there to be like, here is someone you'll recognize from other comedies.
It's weird because Michelle Yeoh was in Bond films.
I agree. She's an Oscar winner now and should have probably been an Oscar nominee for this. I think there's a Best Supporting Actress nod in this. I also think there could have been a Best Adapted Screenplay nod for this. It's kind of wild to me, because that is also the year that Black Panther gets the Best Picture nomination and Crazy Rich Asians got nothing. That's really wild to me, because production-wise, performance-wise, like it was even a year that there were only 8 nominees for Best Picture. There are 2 slots there waiting to be filled. Crazy Rich Asians could have snuck in there. Paddington 2 also could have snuck in there.
2 worthy contenders.
I remember being interviewed and them asking if there would be more. And I was like, do they want to make money? If they want to make money, they're going to make more. Like that seems like a pretty big no-brainer. The second or third weekend after it came out, I went and saw the movie again. And I remember I loved hearing in the audience, like people of so many different backgrounds, like laughing and really having a great time. And I was like, oh, it's going to make so much money, so much money. And I just remember thinking that it allowed so many different types of people. Like, again, I love that there were so many different types of East Asians, right? There are definitely criticisms regarding South Asian representation in that film. And again, I went back and was like, the nitpicking around this movie is like never what goes on in like a Michael Bay movie. Or I've watched movies where it's like the 2 leads are supposedly Italian and really have like only 1/4 Italian backgrounds.
And one of those criticisms, which I was baffled by, was that Henry Golding, who plays Nick, is only half Malaysian. And obviously, like authentic casting is really important and that representation is really important. But I echo Henry Golding's take on this, which is how Asian do you have to be Asian enough?
Well, this is what I was going to say earlier. There is a sort of argument from people when a film does make a stride forward. People say, well, why wasn't it everything? And not everything can be everything. It's not a documentary, you know? It's a fiction film. These are people playing parts and they are still bringing something to the screen that hasn't really been there before. A step forward is a step forward. It's not, it doesn't have, and to be honest, this is a big leap forward.
I think there is space for conversations about what we can do better. Like, for example, John M. Chu sort of initially made a similar point to yours, Jack, about, well, it can't be everything to everyone. It can't achieve everything diversity-wise. And then later on, he said, actually, I didn't really understand this at the time, but you've got a point, world, that the sort of South and Southeast Asian representation was not there and could have been. Like, there was nothing stopping them from doing that, except that sort of lack of awareness at the time. So, like, we can have those conversations about, you know, even better if, but I think we can have those conversations without de-incentivizing progress by insisting on perfection.
I agree.
That is my soapbox. Thank you, Karen, for that thumbs up. I appreciated that. I'm going to say it out loud so everyone knows Karen approves of my point.
And she gave me no thumbs up, so my points are completely
Oh, she gave him a huge thumb down. She was like, shut up, Jack.
I mean, so that's the podcasting trick. I try not to interrupt the other co-hosts. Like you see it, like I've taught myself how to not laugh like audibly, or I nod or I do thumbs up and things like that.
Please laugh.
Yeah, please laugh
We need that
audibly.
validation, Karen. Please
No,
laugh.
but you know what I mean? Like, I think the progress that we have seen in the 7 years since this movie came out, that we are having these kinds of discussions and it's impacting casting decisions and writing decisions. And I think that is such a testament to the real impact of this movie.
Yeah.
The whole cast, and this is incredible, and they're all so well cast. And I know that they worked so hard to cast this film. Like, they sent teams of casting directors all over the world. They did that internet open call, which is how, actually, that's not how they got Henry Golding. They found him because an accountant who worked on the production had seen him announcing an award and it was just smitten with him immediately.
But you watch him in this movie, who wouldn't be smitten?
Oh my God, I know. And this is his first acting role, and you would never know. And honest to God, the second he walks into the room, he just lights up the screen. You're just like, that is a star. And he has the single best attribute that an actor can have working in romantic comedies, which is he looks at her like she is the only woman in the world. My heart melted watching him watch her.
I cried a few times watching it today. But my biggest cry is at the wedding when he's watching her and then they both mouth "I love you" to each other. And it just and like, because you're going across between like the shots of Araminta coming down the aisle. Araminta also played perfectly. The actress's name escapes me at the moment, but she is wonderful. She's got a small role in La La Land, but is also in the excellent TV show Devs. Just absolutely fantastic performance. But yeah, that's the moment that really, really got my tears flowing this time. That's the rom-com moment I want like every rom-com to have, where we fall in love with the characters so much that a little moment like that will just send us.
I cried so much in this movie. I was going to ask if either of you cried. I definitely cried at the wedding because it was beautiful, but also the big reveal of the private investigator at the wedding. I was so angry that I cried. I cried watching Constance Wu cry, and then of course I cried at the end, but it was happy. I just cried a lot.
It's the mahjong scene that does it for me.
Oh.
I remember reading interviews about how they planned that, and it's about the tension, how the mahjong scene echoes what Rachel is saying about, she's like, you think you won this game? I was like, I am the reason why you won this game. Apparently, while they're filming it, they had to redo, like, because she's just like crying like every single take, and then they have to fix her makeup all over again. And it's this feeling of, in addition to the pressure on Asian women, right, to be successful in the workplace and to impress like a future mother-in-law, the shadow of the one-child policy which was exported around the world because of immigration, is that this feeling that so many ambitious, hardworking women have is that they are a disappointment because they were not sons. And so even in trying to impress a future spouse and their mother-in-law, it's like no matter what they do, like they were born a disappointment because they won't carry on the family name. And so in that conversation, like I think about that a lot, like in terms of like she's asserting that she knows she's enough no matter what this person thinks of her. And that's why for me, like, I'm like,
Wow.
And it's really, really hard, like, to say that out loud and turn around and have the support of her own single mother. And so I really think about that in terms of when we talk about like the impact of this movie. Like, again, like the one-child policy changed since the movie came out, right? Like, and now there's all this research showing the detrimental legacy and effects of that policy. And again, like when we're talking about legacy, like Ali Wong's rise, like happened after this. And so like now there's all these examples of, before it was just Margaret Cho, but now there are multiple examples of like assertive, mouthy, like annoyed Asian women, and including South Asian women too, who are comedians and actresses who are just like, this is stupid, you know? And I'm serious. Like, I think when we talk about representation and stuff, like that's why this movie has such a great legacy and power. It makes people cry at so many different scenes. But yes, the wedding, I was just like again, the drama of the flooding, like, and you know that they only had one shot to get that right. And I was just like, yes, like that's what you want in a movie. It's perfect. And it's so funny. And then the food looks delicious and great. Even the food scenes in Turning Red, probably there was like encouragement for them to do that because of the reception to the food scenes in Crazy Rich Asians.
Of course, the director of Turning Red also directed the ultimate sort of Asian food piece in the short film Bao.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love Bao.
We still haven't talked about the spectacular Gemma Chan in this movie, whose storyline is very like concurrent to Rachel's. It's a side story, but it's so gripping.
Mhm.
And Gemma is fantastic in it as well. Another person who very easily could have been up for a best supporting role. Yeah, we got to shout out like how good she is. And like her plotline is so fascinating because this idea of female empowerment, even though, you know, she is rich and successful and beautiful, the bit that really does it for me is when she offers to go work in her husband's office helping out, and he just like shoots it down immediately, like, you know, working as a secretary. It's unbelievable for a woman of your stature. I also love how wild there is the setup for the sequel in the end credits where she meets Harry Shum Jr.'s character. Well, she doesn't even meet him, she looks at him. And then about 5 seconds later in the credits, Harry Shum Jr. is the sixth billed person in this movie.
Wow.
Which I mean, I do find it wild that he is sixth billed in this movie above like Jimmy O Yang.
He's got a good agent.
It's all he was going to have such a big role in the sequels, so it makes sense. But
It is funny though, because it's a credit scene.
He's literally, the credits are starting to roll. He comes on, and then 2 seconds later, his credit appears.
My favorite Gemma Chan moment is one of my favorite moments in the whole film, which is where Nick is explaining, he's sort of talking about his family to Rachel, and we're getting sort of little clips of each of the family members, and they're all really like obnoxious and horrible and like crazy rich. Gemma Chan as Astrid, he says like she's got the biggest heart of anyone in my family, and you see a scene of her talking to a child about this ribbon they've put around their bunny's neck, and she says, "Oh, I think he looks very dashing in his bow. You clearly have very good taste." And I was like, oh.
And it's a really lovely moment because that child has been trying to talk to her mum who is distracted. And Astrid completely... I love it. I love when Astrid is sitting at the table while they're making the dumplings. I love the dumpling scene.
Mm-hmm.
And especially just for like what Rachel says, I love the sense of family in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
But Astrid is sitting there with her own child and completely bossing it as a mum. And I love her line to her husband when they're splitting up. He's like, "I want visitation rights." And she's like, "You will see Cassian when it's best for him, not when it's best for you."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, I love her. I love her so much. I genuinely, be more Astrid.
Yes.
She's so flippant. She's like, "Where will you live?" And it was like, "I don't know. I own like 16 different apartment buildings. I'll figure it out." Like, you know, again, I really think that the power of that movie is the reputation in which like so many ambitious, hardworking Asian women were raised, like to be deferential to their husbands or to tolerate a lot of mistreatment. And this movie is like quietly powerful in being like, nah, you don't have to do that. You don't have to take shit from people. You don't have to take mistreatment from places that you could buy outright. You know, like you don't have to tolerate a horrible marriage. And you can stand up for yourself in a way that is true to your values. And again, it's like, remember, I summarized the history of discrimination against Asians in Hollywood, like as part of this feature. And like, it was actually pretty radical to see that. Like, it wasn't that long ago that the dialogue that some of these characters were given would have seemed unrealistic or shot down and would have definitely not been penned by an Asian female screenwriter themselves.
Yeah.
There are still challenges, but I'm really excited to see the discussions regarding nuances of representation. But besides representation on screen and John M. Chu behind the camera, I think real progress is like someone like Issa Rae, who's also the producer and the scriptwriter, where you have that kind of influence in production. The showrunners who are the people like handling budgets, who are the people investing in these projects. And so that we don't get Adele Lim leaving the sequels, you know, like, does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Very much. I want to talk just very briefly about the romance at the end of this movie, the airplane sequence.
We love a plane in a rom-com.
Genuinely, that scene shouldn't work, and it works so well.
I want to hear why you think it shouldn't work when it does.
I mean, it's just so, like, it's an overdone sequence. I think what John M. Chu smartly does with that scene is he still plays it as kind of, like, ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Nick helping with the bag while he's making this plea to Rachel, and it's just, like, very silly, but it's so sweet and kind of honest.
Mm-hmm.
I just found it so heartwarming. After we'd had quite a difficult last act for Rachel especially, it was nice to just switch back into that goofy rom-com mode.
She's found out this sort of awful stuff about her family history. She has had to choose to walk away from a proposal.
From the love of her life.
From the love of her life. And even though she gets that wonderful mahjong victory, quote unquote, / intentional loss, personal, emotional victory, it's still awful. And I think the reason the plane scene works is because of the juxtaposition of it happening in economy.
Yeah.
You're trying to like run onto a plane to do this big dramatic proposal, and you've got all these people who are annoyed because they're trying to like claim a luggage spot. Karen is following her rule of not laughing on a podcast. Please just laugh, Karen, because I want people to know that she's enjoying this point.
I love it so, and I have to explain, like, I have done that flight from New York to Singapore 3 times. It's 18 hours. Those people are like, we are getting ready to suffer. Like, we have to pass out or like figure out our treats. Like, it is brutal. And I just think it's so perfectly done to like even the music that they are playing at the moment. And then you find out afterwards that was like that Michelle Yeoh looked at the prop rings and she's like, these are all terrible. Like, let me show you what a real ring looks like. And it was like, here, this is what we're going to use instead. And they were like, sure, ma'am.
That ring.
But I just think it's so funny.
One thing we're missing is the third role in this film that I think could be nominated for Best Supporting Actress, which is the woman who just yells, "She says yes!"
I cannot believe you've said that, because the note I'm looking at right now is Oscar to the woman who screams, "Yes, yes, she will marry you" on the plane. We have the same brain, Jack Gregson.
I mean, it's such a wonderful moment. There are so many defining rom-com moments in this movie, and yeah, I probably might pick that as my favorite one.
It's so good.
It's it's something that could be played in a way that doesn't work, and yet everything about it builds up to that moment, and you love it. You just love it. You want her to marry Nick.
Mm-hmm.
And that woman suddenly becomes the audience surrogate.
Mm-hmm. So, Karen, you mentioned the song that was playing on the plane, which was that brilliant cover of Yellow. And I think that brings us really well into our next segment, which is Best Song. Did you have a favorite song from the film?
They included a Cantonese cover of Material Girl.
Mm.
And I think of that all the time. Like, Canto Pop had all sorts of wacky covers of these Western songs. It's familiar to the Western audience, but it's like this bonus treat if you understand Cantonese or if you're like from a family of Hong Kong descent. And it's so like that one was such a delight to hear on screen.
And it's in your favorite scene, the makeover scene.
Yes. Oh, that's exactly.
Jack, what was your best song?
Mine is specifically the version played during the credits, but it's the cover of Money by Cheryl Kay.
The one with Awkwafina?
The one with Awkwafina rapping over it as well. I originally, because the opening of the film is Money by Cheryl Kay, and that was my choice. And then the credits hit, and Awkwafina started rapping, and I was like, yes! Yes, this! So yeah, like, that's what I want.
So that leaves me then to add the Yellow by Coldplay cover, which is playing over the proposal, the engagement party, the like sort of big triumphant ending of the film. And I just really, really loved it. I also thought it was interesting. Coldplay was hesitant to let them use it because they had some criticism for cultural appropriation around another song. But John M. Chu said that they wanted to reclaim the term yellow since it's so often been used as a slur.
Yeah, I remember someone reviewing this at the time and being like, it's weird that they used yellow. It seems like it's a slur. And it's like, they're making a comment.
It's like, maybe let them choose whether it's a slur in this context or not. You know, like, don't assume they are not on top of it enough to have realized that.
I genuinely love the idea that someone watched it and was like, oh, that's weird.
Ooh, is it time for would do, wouldn't do, have done?
It is definitely time for would do, wouldn't do, have done.
So, Jack, what would you do?
I would make the sequels to this movie.
Mm.
I want more. I think this is such a fun world, and like they're like so rich and interesting characters. Maybe that's what the rich in Crazy Rich Asian stands for.
Yeah. It's not the money.
It ain't the money.
Karen, what would you do?
I would put Constance Wu in more movies. I haven't seen her in a lot of movies, and I think there is a whole backstory that we don't have to get into here regarding what happened with Fresh Off the Boat. And I feel like also she didn't get enough recognition for how good she was in Hustlers with Jennifer Lopez. Incredible movie. Like,
another movie
holy
that
cow.
Like got no Oscar nominations and fucking deserved them.
Like, that movie is phenomenal. It always surprises me that like she's not cast in more things. I don't know if it's because now she has young kids and stuff like that, but like I think a true testament of success is understanding how funny Constance Wu is, and that she's very versatile, and that like someone smart should cast her as the lead for a TV show or movie, so that she isn't just waiting for the call to come back for the sequels.
So my would do is a similar energy to that, which is like Nick Young, I would throw it all away for Rachel Chu because she is an absolute delight. And I'm going to extend that beyond the character to Constance Wu herself. I would throw it all away for Constance Wu. I've been reading her memoir. Well, actually, I've been listening to the audiobook, and it's incredible. And I just have so much admiration and respect for her as an artist, as a person. Like, she just seems wonderful. I'm very jealous that you got to meet her and talk to her.
We talked a lot of stuff that didn't make into the story, but also wasn't for publication. And I really tried to come off as someone who wasn't just extractive in our conversation. I wanted to be the person who articulated that everyone involved in the project knew how bad the stakes were, but especially Constance. Because I think it would have been really easy for someone else to gloss over the toll, because everyone's like, wow, you're like the star of like a famous movie. You get to like do all these cool things. And highlighting the actual toll that movie took. That's something I still remain really proud of.
Yeah. Thank you for giving that perspective, because people perceive actors to have so much power and so much freedom and so much joy that they actually do not get to have. Like, people think that every actor is really rich. They think they're all really powerful, really influential, like really in control of their own lives, and they just aren't. That was such a beautiful, vulnerable article. And like, I'm so glad that you made the space for that. Jack, what wouldn't you do?
I wouldn't choose to not make a scene if I found a gutted fish in my bed.
Oh my God, that was mine. It's cool. I got a backup one, but yes.
I think it's very smart on Rachel's point, but I would be like, excuse me, like, this ain't fucking cool. Like, you guys don't know me? Who killed this fish?
Talk about Amanda, but Amanda sucks.
Amanda does suck.
And I would have slapped her with that fish.
I loved at the wedding and she's like, Amanda, you're in my way.
Yeah.
It's such a nice little moment.
Oh, that's such a good answer. Karen, what wouldn't you do?
I wouldn't have immediately rejected some of those dresses in the makeover scene. I thought some of them were really fun.
I'm all about the one with the hands on the boobs.
You know what I mean? I was like, oh, that could work. Like, that's very Schiaparelli or something, you know? Like, maybe, are we going to really turn that one down? Like, it's fun.
I agree. She picked the right one.
Yeah, and the gutted fish scene also made me think of The Godfather, right? Yeah. Was it like the dead horse?
Yeah.
Like that, I thought that was a really good reference. But also, it's just like, in addition to like the horror of it, it seemed incredibly wasteful for even a rich Asian family. Why would you do that? You know, like, and it's mean to the supports, the cleaning staff. But I thought it was really fun.
It is such a shocking moment.
There's
nothing else like it in the film.
Oh, yeah, the tone. That is just a radically different tone from the rest of the film.
You have a scene between her and Astrid burying
it on the beach, which is an amazing scene.
Astrid wearing a top in that scene, which is similar to the top that Rachel's mum told her not to wear because
it's for funerals.
It's for funerals, that's right. Wearing it to bury this fish.
Do you think she went and changed?
I do. Well, she did. She wasn't wearing it before.
She puts it on for the fish funeral. Love that. Well, Astrid is high fashion. Like, she is dressed for every occasion exactly correctly. So yeah, that checks out.
Nora, what wouldn't you do?
Unlike Nick Young, I would not fail to warn my partner before I brought them into an extremely high tension situation. That pissed me off so much. I was like, what the fuck, Nick?
Thank God, like, Henry Golding is so charming in this movie, because otherwise...
Because he's an idiot.
Even just taking her into first class...
Right.
Was like, when she's just, oh, we're not first class people. And he's just like, just go with it.
It's like, it's one thing to not tell your partner that you're really rich. Like, I completely understand why you wouldn't want to tell someone that. But going, hey, my mom is really intense. Like, she has these cultural beliefs. Like, you and I are in a serious relationship and she is going to be feeling this way about it. Why wouldn't you say? Like, that's crazy.
And also, she was so thoughtful in preparing the snacks ahead of time so that they would have something to eat at the airport or on the flight.
The little Tupperware.
Also, there's a part of me that's like, you didn't Google this man, like, after the first couple of dates either. Like,
that is wild.
That's such a good point. Did she not follow him on Instagram? He must have an insane number of Instagram followers.
Know he's the type of person who's off the gram.
Oh, no, private account.
Private account, yeah.
I've met real rich people. And it's always a closed Instagram account so that they can post there like, hey, I'm going to Europe for the summer and not broadcasting it out.
That makes sense.
I learned that.
Jack, what have you done?
Mine's a little sad one. I have overheard my partner's friends say mean things about me.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is sad.
I related to Rachel in that moment. And you know what? I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
So what if they don't think I was good enough for her? We're not together anymore. Bah!
Joke's on them.
Yeah. You were right.
Karen, what have you done?
I have stayed at the Marina Bay Sands Hotel 3 times.
And that's the one where the engagement party is at the end?
Yes, with the big pool of the dancers. And they do the big aerial scene and it has the 3 pillars and the rooftop. And everyone is taking selfies from the pool every single time I'm there.
Did you go in the pool?
Yes, I always go to the pool for at least 10 or 15 minutes. And then I take my obligatory annual selfie and send it back home to my friends.
Good. Good. I have done. I have had a surprise upgrade on a long haul flight. For me, it was just being bumped from economy to premium economy and not like a private first class suite. But even just with that little peek into richness, I was like, is this how the other half lives? Is this what it's like?
I'm about to have several premium economy flights my first time, and I'm so excited.
Okay, fancy bitch.
It is like, oh, this is what it's like to be comfortable.
Right.
Quickly, we're going to do the rom-com Bradow, in which we're going to do a series of ratings out of 5 for leads, supporting characters, and plot. And then finally, the rom-com meter, that's out of 100. So 1 or 0 would be more romantic, 100 would be more comedic, and 50 would be the perfect balance of rom and com. So let's go through it. Lead characters and chemistry out of 5. Karen, what do you think?
I definitely wouldn't give them a 5, because I think at times Rachel had better chemistry with other characters. So Astrid. So I think I would give it at most a 4 or even a 3.5.
I think I'm at a 3.5 as well. I also just don't think they spend a lot of time together in this movie.
Yeah.
In fact, I could go 4 if we talk about the chemistry being between Rachel and Eleanor, because I think those are the scenes that really sparkle.
That's so interesting because I said 5.
Interesting.
I wish they spent more time together, but I think the fact that they didn't and I still cried that hard when he proposed.
Mm.
I think they had incredible chemistry. I think they were amazing.
Yeah, I think I just want more of them.
Oh, yeah, definitely want more.
Supporting characters.
I would give a 4 to 4.5, if only because in retrospect, like Awkwafina's accent at times was very jarring and considered oftentimes deeply inappropriate. And then also to your point about her character, Piglin's family could be jarring at points for the dialogue. But the other characters, again, it cannot be underscored enough that having an ensemble this large and having enough time and space for such a variety to understand like their backstories or like their relationships to Nick Young is kind of amazing.
Mm.
And again, I love Ronnie Chang and Jimmy O Yang's characters.
Yeah.
Showing Asian people can be assholes is like representation I didn't know I needed until I saw it on camera.
I'm right there with you. It's a 4 for me. The real comedic like highlight for me in this is Oliver, who people might also know from Superstore.
Yes.
Such a funny performance. Excellently camp, but just like physically as well. Just a brilliant performance and just someone I'd happily watch more of.
I went 5. I really honestly loved everyone. I liked Awkwafina. I liked her family. They were portraying this very specific, campy, new money kind of thing that was like, yeah, it was a little bit overdone, but I had a good time.
It was the little pervy brother as well, though. Like it just all that kind of stuff. Just I was like, I don't need this here.
Yeah, the brother that fell flat for me.
And plot.
I think I would give it at least a 4.5. It hits all the things that make great romantic comedies for sure. The only reason why I'm not giving it a 5 is like a lot of the things that we articulated in this conversation. But yeah, I would watch it again in a heartbeat. Like it's great.
And for that reason, actually, I do give it a 5. I think the plot in this is like it's unique and familiar at the same time. And just, yeah, it's quite mesmerizing. I think it's really strong. And, you know, it uses those characters well within its plot.
In a move that shocked no one, I went 5.
Yeah, I saw that coming. And then we have the rom-com balance. So, yeah, out of 100, where do you think this sits? Closer to romantic or closer to comedic?
So just to cap off my 555, I gave it a 50.
Interesting.
To me, it is the perfect amount of romantic and comedic. At the same time, I have the slightest caveat of this film is not a traditional romantic comedy. Like it doesn't have the meet cute structure. It doesn't spend a huge amount of time with the couple together. And even so, I feel absolutely confident in giving it a 50 because I think the tonal balance between the romance and the comedy is perfect. So this is my first film that we have covered that has gotten essentially a perfect score. 5, 5, 5, 50. Boom. I'm done.
No,
Carry
obviously, a 50 does not mean a perfect score.
No, it doesn't. But it also, we sort of talked about it being the perfect balance of rom and com. And it's this thing that I was like, are we ever going to get there? And I know it doesn't, like there could be better movies that have a balance one way or the other. But there's just something very satisfying about this getting that score lineup for me.
I was thinking 55, but as Nora was articulating, my only hesitation regarding that 5 points was because we don't see a lot of scenes with the couple together. Mm-hmm. But so much of the plot is about the tension regarding the couple, right? It's about like dealing with the jealousy from that horrible bachelorette and like all those things. And those are dramatic moments about the romance rather than comedic. Mm. And so I also agree with that score because while a lot of the movie is really, really funny, like I think the bachelor scenes or like, again, even Ronnie Chang's character dealing with his family, like articulating how they should pose for the photo shoot, like another director would have just cut that either shorter or made it like a footnote. And John M. Chu like gives it space to breathe. His eye for editing is something that I think was recognized in Wicked a lot and in The Heights. But I think, again, you could see the through line for his earlier movies. And so that's why I agree with Nora.
I'm going to break the mold and I am going to say 40.
Oh.
I do think it is very funny, but more of it, I'm having fun just being in this world. And I really love the romance in it. And it's not just like the romance between Nick and Rachel, but the falling apart of the romance between Astrid and her husband, Even like the actress who is trying to just find someone to marry to have that big wedding. To me, the love stands tall in this movie. I will remember it more for its romance aspects than its funny aspects. And I love that for it.
That is a valid answer.
Thank you. Karen, thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything you'd like to plug or promote before we let you go?
The funny thing is, in the intro, sometimes I get introduced as the person formerly known as the doom-scrolling reminder lady. So I developed a very large social media following during the pandemic for reminding people not to look at their phones a lot. And I know that this year has been very, very stressful and chaotic for a lot of different people. So the only thing I will plug, rather than I hope that you read my work, is that I strongly recommend charging your phone outside of your bedroom and planning activities that will get you off your phones, like seeing a great romantic comedy with a friend at a theater, or making plans to go and see live theater in the West End, or go to a great museum, especially one that offers free admission, because I think right now it can be very easy to consider these activities frivolous. But as we have articulated, they can be the things that remind us that there's joy in this world and how to relate to other people who have very different lives than our own, and that what we are going through can be very challenging, but will not be around forever.
I love that.
I love that. I also love that you described a lot of mine and Nora's relationship in that description. These are the things that we like to get up to. But Karen, you've been an absolute delight and a font of knowledge on this film.
What a pleasure to talk to someone who is so knowledgeable about the film and all this societal context. And I feel like I learned a lot just by talking to you. And I thought I'd done all this research. I was like, I know stuff. I learned so much from you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
This has been When Rom Met Com. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at When Rom Met Com. There are links there to the Vanity Fair article, to our letterboxd, and any other fun things we've found and want to share. You can DM us or send us an email at mail@whenrommet.com. Get it? We'd love to hear your thoughts on the films, what rom-coms you think should have made the list, your best would-dos, wouldn't-dos, and have-dones, or anything else you'd like to hear about. If you had a nice time today, please consider leaving us a review or following us wherever you get your podcasts. Next time, we'll be discussing number 30, Emma. Thanks for listening, and remember, we don't hate you. Not even a little bit. Not even at all. See you next time.